Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Project Positive Planet. Today, we will be talking about the advancement of wellness, spa concepts of the future. Joining me is Victor Vazquez, founder and CEO of Genesis 8, Dean Langdon, CEO of Breath Express Wellness, and Kim Diorsi, spa operations and marketing expert. Today is sponsored by VitaLounge, the IV injection solution. Welcome, guys.
Welcome, Stephanie.
How are you today?
Very good. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
What's that beautiful glow behind you?
This is we're broadcasting live from my showroom in Jupiter, so that happens to be a salt inhalation booth. Which, if you're familiar with salt inhalation, there's either a room or a booth, but that's the LED lights behind the salt Himalayan brick behind me.
Great. And Kim, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having us, and I hope everybody that is on Shudan is healthy and doing the best they can. And my background started in hospitality and spa in 1992 when I did my internship at PGA National Resort and Spa. Done operations, marketing, consultant, working with NBC News for wellness segments. And I am currently just finishing up an executive certification at FAU for project management.
Fabulous. And Dean?
Yeah, I'm going on 30 years in the luxury resort and spa business since actually the late 80s, and did a lot of things from retail merchandising to spa design and space planning, and represented a lot of lines that the industry knows until most recently. My last decade was the vice president of corporate accounts for the hydrofacial company. And then we sold the company in 2017, and I've been looking for new wellness modalities such as jet fuel that most people I'm at now, working with Victor and Lake Nona, and kind of the myriad of the future of wellness, and that's where we are today.
All right, thank you. And Victor, you might be one of the most interesting people I met in quarantine. Please tell us about yourself. Oh, Victor, we can't hear you. You want to just check your audio. Still can't hear Victor. So Victor, if you want to hop out and hop back in, and then we'll have you introduce yourself when we come back. So today we are talking about spa treatments of the future. I know Kim and Dean have a ton of experience with this. So first question, will wellness begin to overshadow spa? What are your thoughts?
Yes, I actually saw that happening over the last few years anyway. The wellness industry, as we know it, is evolving, and never like now, obviously, in the position that we're in with the pandemic. And then what can we do down the road to prevent it? Some of the things that we'll talk about today are just that. But I think the advancement of epigenomics and everything from a cellular level is just where we're going to be. The technology out there right now is fantastic, and with acronyms like HMA, holographic medical assistance, and what we're doing right now, which is telemarketing or telemedia, telemedicine. Those are going to be the big buzzwords. With nearly 8 billion people on the planet coming up, there's no way that you can actually physically go and see a physician anymore. So a lot of this is going to be done with technology all the way down to the epigenomic level, and that's when you get into stem cells and peptides and things like that we'll be talking about as well.
And as an operator, as an operator, we've been trying for years to get more wellness in there. Spa is no longer just for luxury, it's for everybody. So now we are able to take that pause in time and rework on our menus and bring wellness into the spa and luxury market. So I'm very excited about that.
Great, and I'm hoping we can hear Victor now.
You guys hear me now?
Yeah,
Oh, great. Sorry about that.
welcome.
So thanks for having me. So I am I'm the owner of Genesis. It's a predictive care platform created about 10 years ago for doctors to back into a private pay wellness platform. A lot of doctors were having trouble getting vertical on cash pay modalities. So we saw a need there, and so we've created a platform, and we have centers in New York City, and building one here in Lake Nona, Florida, to facilitate that. So along with that, we needed an easy on-ramp for people to get more serious about serious modalities like stem cells and hormone replacement therapy. And we thought there would be no better medium to do that than to redefine the medical spa, to really bring the medical part into the spa. And along with Dean and his vision and his experience, we've been able to successfully put together an spa product that we're going to be launching out through various platforms and locations throughout the United States here about third quarter of next year. So excited to be aboard and to share and contribute in any way I can.
Fabulous. So, Victor, we just posed the question. I know your background is primarily in medical and wellness, but are we going to see what's overshadowing spa in the future?
Well, I think we have to recalibrate what our vision is of what a spa is and how we interact and how do we get to that end user, to that client, where in the past it's more been a luxury experience. It's been about high touch, high feel. Where I think, when Dean and I were kind of conceptualizing M-Spa, Dean always came to the table with this self-guided type platform towards a new spa. And it took a little convincing to me, but, by happenstance, here we are today in a post-COVID-19 world, and really the self-guiding mechanisms and modalities that Dean had presented and we had looked into really is the narrative today. And we think that that's really the trend of the future. So the question is, how do you get the spa user to continue to be a spa user? And is that done in the spa or is that done in room? So those are the questions that I think need to be defined. And I think the people on this call and the people listening really are the people who are going to write that narrative.
Interesting. And interesting what you brought up about self-guided. It's a word Dean and I have discussed quite a bit. Dean, what are your thoughts on what treatments specifically could we be incorporating that are self-guided, high-tech, and low-touch?
Yeah, I always was, from a business standpoint, I was interested in it because it was able to create services that didn't require a lot of labor. And just ironically, here we are with COVID, where distancing is an issue. So it couldn't be better timing to start thinking about it. For one, right behind me is a salt booth. Whether that's a salt room, which are usually 20 by 20 or bigger, or a salt booth, that is something that is kind of an independent service where you go in, breathe on your own. And again, I think salt inhalation therapy is going to skyrocket in general just because of respiratory issues and what we're dealing with now. But it's very, very low cost. I mean, you're talking pennies on the dollar. It's pharmaceutical grade salt. Don't be fooled by all the Himalayan salt myths out there. You're not breathing Himalayan salt. You're breathing 99.9% sodium chloride. The Himalayan salt is just decor and aesthetics. And then also LED therapy. I got really into LED when I left hydrofacial, and I mean real LED. LED that is efficacious, that works. The wavelengths are there. The FDA backs it, not just because it turns red. But these are things that you can sit in a booth or lay down on a flat table and do by yourself solo. And that goes into that epigenomic level that I told you about. That's affecting the mitochondria, which is the whole engine source of your entire body. I follow a lot of David Asprey with Bulletproof, and he's all about red light therapy. So, yeah, that's a whole nother character. And then is something
the salt booth, Dean. So
yeah.
that booth, because I think one concern is communal areas. That booth could be for a single person or a couple, right? It's pretty small.
Yeah, this particular booth is for 2 people. Most of the booths are for 2 people. If you know each other, you're not going to want to sit right next to each other like Kim and I. But the rooms are pretty spread out. The good thing about salt is that, like, I have a portion of my room in here that has salt floor. That's great for kids' playroom areas because salt is a natural antibacterial. So you don't really have to clean salt. You can lay on a salt bench, lay up against the wall, and you don't have to clean it.
Nancy just asked that question. So is there any sanitation between clients or?
On salt, well, here's the thing with salt. It's still salt. It's just compressed salt. So putting any type of liquid on the salt is going to erode it. But from the Salt Therapy Association, salt is a self-cleaning antibacterial. So.
And of course, you're going to have to wipe down your chairs, and you're going to have to write.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You'll have
yeah. But just the salt itself, it's pretty self-contained. We're going to be introducing in the M-Spa component of Lake Nona. There'll be lots of myriads of things that are going on, but that self-guided section that we're talking about will have hydro massage. Ironically, Victor is in a business where he doesn't like people touching him, so he does not prefer massages. I love massages, but regardless, wearing loose clothing and going in and having your own hydro massage, it's, I'm talking high tech. You have your own app. It has a software base. You program it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you like, and you have a hydro massage. Yes, that is then wiped down.
The hydro massage, the water is actually touching you?
Yeah, the water is touching a membrane that is then forcing. It feels like somebody massaging you, but you don't get wet. You wear loose clothing, and that's a self-guided service. Lots of things. I mean, if there was a big communal area with hydrotherapy areas, that's all self-guided. Hydro massage, where it comes off the back and into wading pools. But I'm not talking about that. That's a totally different category. But there's some easy self-guided things like that we're going to be introducing.
And I think you'll see with the salt therapies, those will be more into spas, that all the rooms will have a salt therapy generator just to help with the massage and breathing during the massage.
Interesting. Any other treatments that'll fall into that category or be included in an M-Spa?
Well, right now, there's a lot in M-Spa. So I think with M-Spa, you're going to have infrared, you're going to have salt inhalation, you're going to have hydro massage. There might even be some cognitive brain therapy or napping areas that would precede a brain treatment, which is Victor's specialty. And then other than that, we're still working on it.
Great. And Victor, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think what we're trying to do in Lake Nona, obviously we have an advantage because Lake Nona itself is a community that is built on wellness and it's built on health and wellness. We have 9 communities that have some major stakeholders, from the VA hospital to the Morris Hospital, the HCA Teaching Hospital that's opening up third quarter of this year. In addition to that, we have Johnson & Johnson Human Performance Center, and we have the largest tennis facility on the face of the earth. The USTA is headquartered out of there. We're building, Tavistock is building, they're out of the ground with 2 major hotels, the Wave Hotel and then a 5-star resort. So we had a real need in Lake Nona to make sure that these facilities were current and relevant in what people are expecting today. And I think a lot of times we think we don't give the end user or the consumer enough credit to be up to date on what's going on. And sometimes we're afraid to say certain words, and we're afraid to give them that certain credit of understanding that, they're not stupid. And so I think education, and that's why there's an academy component to M-Spa. There's a learning component and there's an educational component. We call them modules, where people can share in those modules freely and educate. Because at the end of the day, if you have an educated consumer, they'll write the check. And more, a spa treatment or modality is no longer for the wealthy. It's really, our average income in Lake Nona is just under $200,000. The average age is 35 years of age. But yet we have 70% of the population sharing their medical data freely with us. Now, the average rates of sharing medical data on communities. Our program happens to be called the Lake and Nona Life Project. It's about 5%, and we have 70+%. We have over 60% of our residents, 70%, I'm sorry, with college degrees. And we have about 40% of those working from a home-based business. So when you start to think about the express, and Dean, once again, I give Dean credit for the express component of making spa modalities and treatments not only enjoyable and not only educational, but adding the express component to those things are very good, because nobody really has the 5-6 hours to sit in a spa. Now, some of us do, great if you do, but the majority of the people within the demographic and the income level that we're talking about and we're targeting don't have they have their lunch hour, they have a little time after work, possibly, and the weekends. So that's kind of really what our focus is on, really making this an express component delivery to an educated consumer.
Interesting. And what are your thoughts on the leisure market? So many of us work in resort leisure market. Will we see more of these high-tech wellness services moving away from your standard facial massage, mani-pedi? Will we see these start to enter the leisure resort market?
Yeah. So being working closely with Tavistock, they own the Albany Resort down in the Bahamas, which is an incredible resort.
I've visited. It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and everything Joe does and the Tavistock team does is best in class, and certainly with a worldview in mind. So it's really exciting, working with these people and these individuals. They're master planners, they're master developers, and so to that point, what I found with Genesis 8, which is it's a private pay program that people pay a lot of money to be part of. Now the idea is to get that cost factor and the point of access down, as spread out as possible. So if we're talking about a capitalization investment of a stem cell lab, a lot of times that's cost prohibitive to do for people and for businesses. So we like to provide that. And so what I see and what we're really looking to do and what we're doing with MSPA is using MSPA as an on-ramp to educate people on the stem cell, on the hormone replacement therapy. How do we manage conditions like thyroids? Thyroid is a big issue, and understanding how to get ahead of it and manage it is really important. So the concierge part of that is really incredible for us, that we implement that. And we think it's best to do it within this new ideation of what a medical spa is and should be. And what we found the best way to do that is with liquid IV therapy. And the person we found.
And Cindy just had a great question about this, which I think might fit in. Her thoughts are that CapEx is not really going to be available in 2020. So could this be a service they could implement without a lot of upfront costs?
Yeah, so that's the key, right? How do you get vertical? How do you get in? And really, it's no longer about licensing or huge capitalization expenditures. It's about partnering. It's about partnering and getting, like, for instance, for us, with our liquid IV component with VitaLounge, we have that component ready to go that could be vertical in 30 days into any existing spa or any existing gym or any existing resort. And we do the medical. It's under the auspices of our medical oversight. So we have the doctors, we have the licenses. In many cases,
are hotel protected though? How does that work?
So we indemnify them. So the whole medical part of it, there's an indemnification that comes along with that. So what we do is, and it's a very touch and go depending on ownership of the resorts and so forth. A lot of them are very conservative, and some of them really want to be on the cutting edge. A lot of times, like in Las Vegas, we'll do it outside of the hotel. So we'll do it in a mobile unit, whether it's our RV or one of our mobile units, or on one of our brick and mortar facilities, which we have quite a few going on around the country. But it's the only place you can get a person in a chair for 30 minutes with an IV in their arm, bypassing the gut, right? Because we have to really talk about absorption when people are taking 50, 60 supplements a day and, peeing most of it out. To metabolize, it takes hours to metabolize, and you're not getting the full effect of the compound. going to the IV and going into into the blood, you're getting 100%. It's instantaneous, and we can measure that better. And we always feel if you can't measure it, it means nothing. You have to be able to measure what the growth is and what the benefits are. And that's what we really try to do. But where else can you get a person to sit 30 minutes where you have their undivided attention, where you can now educate them, or they could ask questions about stem cells or about hormone replacement therapy, and what about the regulation, and what about the legalities, and how does it affect me? All those things to have, efficacy and safety is really the key of what we're doing. So we're taking the concierge medicine world that we're in New York City, and we're taking the spa world, and we're trying to bring them, together and in alignment, so we can easily get people who started out with liquid IV now going into hormone replacement therapy or going into peptides, which is really an exciting field today, or going into something more like hyperthermia treatment. So these are all things that we're very astute at. But we also, and we don't like to use the word dumbing it down. We don't dumb it down. We want to educate our consumers so they can understand it at a cellular level, so they can have this intelligent conversation as we're having with a friend of theirs or with a colleague of theirs, and understand what they're talking about. That's the key, we think, moving forward.
Wonderful. Kim, what services, with all your time in operations, do you see entering the leisure market?
You're going to see more of the IV thing, but you're also going to have to educate your general managers, educate the controller, and bring that to them, because that's the direction that it's going. And with different modalities that they kind of been hesitant about, it's time that they're going to have to move forward with that.
Right. Need kind of over risk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in regards to CapEx, because that's, I wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat screaming the words CapEx, because it's been haunting me for 20 years since I got into capital equipment. But it's just something that we have to deal with. And, with a CapEx piece of equipment is usually something $20,000 or more, and it has to go up to the highest levels. And I'm so used to that, it's not funny. I have spa directors that have been reaching out to me that can't wait to use the CapEx that we were going to purchase prior to this. And then I got some people that are saying it ain't going to happen this year. So back to with IV, when we were designing MSpa, yes, we had that express component, that self-guided area. That's a working module under a membership model, by the way. That's a cash cow working on its own. And then we have a dermatological component. So we have an on-site dermatologist. So one of the other self-guided services that I forgot is going to be sunless tanning, where you actually walk into an automated system, takes 6 minutes, and it's a safe tan. But CapEx-wise, what I was going at with IV therapy is when we put an IV therapy component into the overall concept, but we didn't really think about where that could go after. And just in the last month, we started talking about targeting the spas. And so Victor created a spa division for VitaLounge that is going to be able to offer this specifically to spas that we didn't necessarily even intend on targeting. VitaLounge was a brand where we wanted you to come to them. But now it seems like a perfect timing to bring the component into the spa. Regarding CapEx, it's not going to cost really anything as far as coming in and creating a venue to take the IV drip. It could be a profit sharing program to where whatever the split is, and you essentially have no initial investment depending on the property. Now, we do have some properties that are talking to us about building it into the entire space plan, rolling it out, full luxury 1,500 square feet. But some places just don't have that, and we don't expect to put that financial burden on an entire build out. So it could be as easy as having a relaxation room that you already have and using those chairs as drip chairs.
Well, when you brought it to me, it was a no-brainer to think, because I've bought a $30,000 machine from you before. Operator. I've bought a couple of them. And having to report back to my controller or my GM to say, okay, where are we now in the break even every month, is is quite a bit of pressure. So to bring something in that's protected, no pressure.
Yeah. And then as far as that turnkey approach, it could happen in a matter of weeks. It just has. I think the fear factor is what's kept most people away from anything medical. It used to be as close as you got to a medical component to your spa, it would be a doctor that would come in on Tuesdays and do Botox. That's about as far as it got. But now, what Victor was saying, he can provide the indemnification, the liability, the actual phlebotomist or the nurse practitioner, a profit sharing scenario. It's a win-win-win. There's no reason not to.
And the buzzword right now is immunity. So what makes this IV, because I've been looking at it for years and trying to figure out how to bring it into some of our pop-up concepts. What makes this great for immunity?
So
I'll defer to Victor.
Okay.
Well, no, I think, when we're talking about what we're going through right now and what we're coming out of, a lot of people are going to recalibrate where they're spending their money and what they're spending it on. So when you get into immunity and you get into having an access point to supercharge your immune system. So what a lot of people don't know, in China, in Wuhan, one of the keys for them getting out of their epidemic was high dose vitamin C IV treatments. So the high dose vitamin C IV treatments was essential. It's part of a clinical trial, one of 3 clinical trials going on now. And not only that, local hospitals and local health institutions have now adopted that as a pre-therapy. So we want to talk about prep, right? How do we prep ourselves? How do we prep our bodies? And not only from a standpoint of staving off viruses and disease and infection, but also from a point of making sure cognitively, how are we thinking from the corporate executive to getting burnt out and brain fog, to the athlete, to the that wants to break his plateau in the 5K, or a mom that that's taking care of a big family. We all burn out and so forth, and we have to understand what's in the tank, what we're putting in our body, how we're sleeping. Sleep is a really big component. It's one of the core components of what we do. But IV is really important that you partner with the right person. And me at Genesis A, I decided VitaLounge because VitaLounge, and Rafael Reyes, the owner, is a good friend of mine. They titrate their bags, which is really important. So you'll get a lot of compound pharmacies and a lot of IV people will offer your services, and all they're doing is buying a bag from a compound pharmacy that has about 6 to 7 ingredients in it. Here, what we do is we titrate the bag. So there's 25 different ingredients in that bag that's customized for you. So we know if you're in low vitamin D, or we know there's cancer in your family, and we want to really make sure your levels are up to where they have to be. Once again, measuring, right? We're measuring where your blood is. We're measuring everything and making sure we're titrating those amounts to make sure we're not giving you too much, to making sure we're giving you enough, to make sure your body's in the best position to stave off disease, infection, and working on neurodegeneration. Because there's one certainty, where if we live long enough, we're going to get cancer, or we're going to get dementia, or we're going to get heart disease, right? And now heart disease is being replaced by fatty liver, right? So how do we now, from a diet standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, how do we counteract that? How do we start prepping ourselves to stave off those ill effects that are certainly coming down the pike, especially from our genetic and our family history, to our lifestyle, the way we eat, where we live, the air quality where we live. All those things are kind of capsulated in educating somebody along the way to make them their own programmer of their program, not listening to somebody telling them what they should do. They'll know and the key to this is giving them access to the modalities and to the services. And that's why I like VitaLounge, because VitaLounge, among other other modalities that we do, is the on-ramp. It's the door opener. It's the door opener for other greater things. But at the end of the day, people can equate what an IV in the arm does, as far as if you're spending $80 on a supplement at GNC and you're spending $100 on liquid IV, that you're getting 100% of the product absorption, rather than a gradient of maybe 30 to 50% from a physical capsule that you're ingesting and processing, metabolizing it through your gut. which we know the leaky gut syndrome and all the gut health today is a real thing. And that really is really connected to the brain. So understanding how to connect those dots and educate people along the way is really the key. The money comes, you know, the valuation of what you're doing for them is there. We never have a problem with, you know, charging what we charge for what we do, because we're educating the people along the way. So that decision is not made because of a high pressure sales technique. It's made because of knowledge. And that's really, I think, where we have to go. We have to start giving people credit that they understand what's going on. And if they don't, we can really educate them.
Stephanie, I can't hear you.
We can hear you now.
And the health benefits they get immediately after too kind of sells itself in a way. Maggie Dumpy had a really great question. How can we bring wellness to the local communities that need it more than ever? Because I know we mentioned that Lake Nona, the average salary is $200,000. So what about the lower income individuals?
Well, you know, that's a great question. And I think, once again, you have to have a social thread to anything you do. And everything that we do, we always want to have a social thread. One of the biggest parts of our platform is imaging. We believe imaging, MRI, should be done every year. It's a magnet. It has no radiation. There's no ill effects. But we need to get ahead of the curve and understand what the picture is, what's going on inside of us. So one of the things that we're doing, and what we do at Genesis 8, is we provide no cost or low cost MRI imaging for people to understand where they are and what their predispositions may be on blood. So we try to give back, but for our community, really getting into corporate wellness, getting into the employers, and getting even into the school systems and starting with private schools is really important for them to understand, from what's served in the cafeteria to having kids understand. My son is going to be 8, and ever since he's been 5, he's been getting a full body MRI. Now, when my son as he turns 10, 11, 12, he's going to say, "Hey, Dad, it's time for my scan." It's part of his program now. He understands it. So if something, God forbid, in 3 years from now, he starts stuttering or there's some issues he's having cognitively, I have a baseline now that I could go back on to see what was changing and what was not. Whether it's the brain scan, I do full body scan, the full functional scan. So I think, that's a great question. The question is that your consumer of modalities and medical modalities, it has to become affordable. When I started my program in New York City, it started out at $125,000 a year, right? And now our premium programs are down to $18,000 a year, equivalent to an Obamacare program for a guy my age. And it goes even lower, and it covers the family, right? So, some very smart people told me, you really got to get that basis cost down. And likewise, on these modalities, we'd like to see the costs come down. And how do you infiltrate and how do you penetrate a community that doesn't have a lot of wealth? Well, you do through, social threads. And so having, Dean will tell you, like Nona, we're planning to have pop-ups prior to M-Spa opening, where people can come and get free IVs, and people can come in and experience some of the things and do. And once again, it's the old adage, if you pay 25 cents for a newspaper and somebody gives you a newspaper for free, you're probably going to read the one that you paid 25 cents for, because there's a valuation to it. Likewise, as you educate people, they value that. And those are the people who will start budgeting into their budgets my monthly IV or my yearly scan that we can subsidize, right? So I think that's kind of, it needs a community. It really needs interaction from a political, from a business level and so forth. And we're very active in doing that, by the way. We're doing it in Detroit next. So we're very active in getting the cities and the municipalities together to do that. Because at the end of the day, the value of our company and the money we make is only guided by the character that we have and the implementation that we can share this as a trickle-down effect to kids and to families who can't afford it. And so I think ultimately that is the long-term goal. But unfortunately, to get to that goal, you really have to start kind of high and work your way down. And we're making great strides in doing that. So we're proud of that.
That's great work. Kim, you work a lot with Global Wellness Day, and I know have a lot of experience in grassroots organizing wellness days. What are your thoughts on that?
I think with Global Wellness Day, they do free offerings every day, the second Saturday in June, but also reach out to your local communities, your community centers, your recreation centers. You see more and more yoga classes coming in, Tai Chi classes, acupuncture. A studio near me, they do complimentary acupuncture once a month within a group setting, or full moon yoga. So you just have to go to your local newspapers, go online, and you will see complimentary wellness programs that you'll be able to get involved with, and drop in sessions that are under $20 or $15. And you're going to be seeing more teen classes that are popping up. And to Victor saying with his son, when's my son going to get his scan? My daughter's 14, and what just came on Amazon the other day was a dry brush and clay mask that she ordered. Now, if I would have told her to order that, she never would. But on her own, she's ordering a dry brush and a clay mask. And she's got coconut oil to mask her hair in the bathroom. So even the kids nowadays are so different than the generation I grew up in.
Yeah, and I'll add one thing to that. In Lake Nona, we have 9 communities. And in each one of those communities, we activate, we throw 1,000 events a year. 100% of the homeowners dues goes back into the communities. So you could have, yoga in the park every morning at 6 o'clock, all these events that are thrown, that even the way we design the communities are, neo-modern, neo-urban. So people need to interact with one another. And we found a great thing. So many people are so much interested in their health that 70% of them share their medical data with us. So we found really the key for community interaction is not really the net, the net income of what they do, is points of access. And we can give them a lot of these things, especially in Lake Nona, at no cost. It's part of it. And you think about what we do at Lake Nona as well, is if you go into our WIT house, which is our wellness house based on innovation and technology, even the way we build houses and design houses now is based for the wellness factor, from the air quality to water to sleep culture. How does that all affect us? We're spending so much time at our home, how we cook, where we cook, how we obtain our food products. Understanding all those things is data driven, right? And so I think with all the data that's going out there, you see a few companies like Facebook and Amazon will take advantage. But it's time for us to educate ourselves to take advantage of really what works for us, our cell, and our family, and be living in a community. Because as this current pandemic has taught us, there's serious gaps in terms of how we organize our lives, where we live, and the infrastructure we call home. So, at Lake Nona, we usher in really a hunger for a better way. And we're always innovating. So we always believe we can never do it ourselves. So our theme is that innovation and collaboration leads to great things. So we would see a return to a core and an opportunity to brand and become, a true lifestyle brand beyond our physicality. So we think what we're doing here in Lake Nona really can be done elsewhere in communities and townships and cities and different countries around the world, because really it needs a cluster. It needs a group of people that care enough, and some companies and corporate leaders that actually see the benefit and the ROI of keeping their employees healthy. So after 30 years, they're just not overweight and killing the insurance plan, but they're active, they're in shape, and they're producing more cognitively and and from a social standpoint.
And it's kind of a blueprint for the city. So hopefully that trickles down throughout the community, because if you have one mega wealthy community and everyone around it is completely poor, I think that's not, or unhealthy. It's not a good reflection of you being in that city and contributing back. So,
and part of that data that Victor said that they collect actually goes towards being able to vertically grow your own vegetables. Like my kale for Dean would be engineered differently than Victor, and that's what the blood profiles do, is determine what am I missing that the next person isn't, and creating that vertical grow farm just for you.
Love that. And maybe giving a percentage back to the community of the vegetables. We've been talking about that quite a bit. Okay. I'm going to jump to in-room services, because there's many properties that already have these grand spas built and communal rooms. Kim, what are your thoughts on in-room services once we start to reopen this year?
You're going to see more in-room services. You had in-room services. When I was at the Henderson, we developed an in-room wellness bar, well-being bar that had offerings of an eye mask, a facial mask, different things to do. We also had a wellness crate that had different components on it. And one was like our sound therapy. This is something that you can do. You can do a whole ritual on this. And I don't know if anybody's ever had sound therapy. I've had a sound therapy. Really didn't want to do it. I was kind of hesitant because I like that deep tissue massage. This was the most relaxing service I've ever had. No one was touching me.
It's a vibrational. Remember, we're going down to the cellular level. A vibrational therapy is as simple as a Himalayan sound bowl. They're using that on the actual table. We actually did services and created a protocol while you're laying on that LED table, which is affecting all of the mitochondria and the release of nitric oxide. Along with that, it's an incredible experience that you can't explain.
And when I was at the Henderson, we had this as our opening ritual. So each guest, when they came to the spa, this was their opening ritual before they got into their locker. And we would have people that had immediate effects that would even start crying emotionally. They had emotional releases. So this is a beautiful thing. And right now, in-room services, you're not going to have that many therapists going into the room because that's another liability there. You're going to have those self-guided treatments. And another one that we have, you're going to see more of the handheld devices that you're going to have that are going to be guided. The Hypervise. So this is going to be a great deal that you'll be able to do. Let's turn this on. That the couple will have instructions on how to self-guide a massage to each other. You'll see on the hotel TV instructional of how to do that. So you're going to see, or a bath. A lot of hotels have bath programs, but you're going to be a self-guided steam room with a salt bath or self-guided body scrub that you'll see on the well-being bar.
I definitely see tent cards, if not I see tent cards as the minimum, but that's an old term.
That's so old school, Dean.
I just dated myself, didn't I? The in-room programming will have not only this, but I also see IV therapy coming right to your room. What better place to have it in the privacy of your hotel room? So I think that would be probably something that's going to be very new.
Yeah, and aromatherapy that you'll see maybe more aromatherapy shampoo, conditioners, body wash already in the room, and also vitamin C water. I know some hotels have spa rooms that have the vitamin C water that's in the guest rooms.
Fabulous. Okay, so speaking of spas of the future, we have a beautiful slide on M Spa that will be at Lake Nona. That is Dean and Victor's brainchild, baby. So I will share these slides and I'll let you two just talk to what we're seeing on the screen.
So M Spa is a very modern. It's located in a 250,000 square foot wellness center, which will be the biggest and best in class in the world. Along with that, we have 130,000 square foot techno gym. So M Spa really becomes based on human performance. Our goal is to really enhance the performance of each human. And then Dean had a great comment right there that we included in it. So very modern, very nice finishes, high touch. One of our partners is Babor. Dean was great in bringing them aboard. We're really happy to have them aboard. Babor to us is a privately held company that has 20 scientists that are on the cutting edge of skincare. And we are very excited to have this partnership. So Babor will actually have treatment rooms. This will be a core of M Spa. So you'll be able to come in and get a facial. You'll be able to come in and buy product. You'll be able to come in for free tutorials and seminars that we'll be throwing periodically for the community. M Spa wellness pods and our organic stimulation rooms are very based upon autonomous procedures where people can have, sometimes, they just need to get away for a while. And in spas, typically, you put them all in one big room and they have a spa, they have a room they can go to. We like to have these pods, these wellness pods. And within these wellness pods, we'll have bod pods. We'll be able to measure the physiology of the body, the water weight and things like that. But if you want to drip in that room, you can drip. If you want to massage in that room, you can massage as well. So it's kind of organic in design, pretty neat. pretty neat. So we're really excited about that. And endosphere is one of the, and jet peel are also modalities that we'll have. So our mind, body, and soul shaping. At Lake Nona on the performance side, Tavistock is partnered with Deepak Chopra to do our mind and body zone, which is really exciting to have. But also our body and soul shaping program really is to a lot of it's meditation, a lot of it is Eastern philosophy. So we're really excited to have that for our membership. So this will be our membership-based program. So face and body beauty, certainly, men are becoming more prominent, we feel. Men just feel a little emasculated going into a spa because it just, spa has a connotation for women and, you're going with your girlfriend. But really, we really want to focus on, face and body beauty, both inside and outside, but also give a platform for men to go to. And that's why you'll see in M-Spa, you'll see a separation on hormone therapy. You'll have a woman's side and a men's side. Men just like to have their own thing. And that's what we're kind of creating with an M-Spa as well. Something for the man to go in and not feel, like he's in a spa for women. So that's kind of really our core there. This is a concept of what our VitaLounge will look like. So, when it comes to, liquid IV, it can be done in other therapy rooms. It can be done anywhere in any room. But we like the lounge effect here, where we could have a little privacy if we want, and we can drip, we could watch TV. We have private rooms as well. So if you wanted to do a 30, 40-minute drip and be in a Bluetooth soundproof room and have your conference calls, because you don't have the 30 minutes or the 40 minutes to waste. So you could drip as you're doing your conference call, and you'll be in a private room. But this is our public room. That's how kind of it's going to look. It's really, really attractive. Injection therapy is something we didn't go into. It's part of what we do as IV. Also injection, B12 shots, vitamin D shots, directly into the blood, in and out. You're in and out in minutes. Intermuscular injections are sometimes hard for people to do, to get the needle into the muscle. We do that here. A lot of it's sub-Q. So we can do testosterone. We can do a lot of things sub-Q now, which is just penetrating the skin. It's a really easy injection. So the injection lounge is something that we also offer as an add-on to VitaLounge. So Club M Spa is really cool. Once again, Dean came up with this great idea of self-guided services for a set amount per month, a really low amount, but we're giving him hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of services for that small amount of money. And we do this through kiosks. So you can come in at any time, either through the app, or you can just come in and schedule your service. And if the machine's available or the room's available and so forth, you can go right in. If not, it'll tell you when it will be available. So this way, and you can download that app and it can sync it up. So if you're coming home at 2 in the morning, you're landing in Orlando International Airport, and you're at a different time zone and you're feeling, dehydrated or you're hungover, whatever, you should just come in and schedule an IV and, show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and go into your appointment. So we're making it very smart. So aesthetics and plastic surgery, Dr. Saluja, wonderful, very talented dermatologist. So happy to have a relationship with her. Dr. Nova, which is the plastic surgeon part. So we'll be able to do those modalities within that. Dr. Saluja's practice is about 85% injectables, right? Although she still does the medical part of it. Very excited about having her, and really, she really gives the, the dermatologist really gives the core or the spa the validity of a medical spa, to have that person there. So I encourage every one of you, if anybody needs anything, to really look her up. She's amazing. So when we talked about the analytics and the education, you're looking right now at our Theater in the Round, which is located at the Godwill Building in Lake Nona. And we have a lot of events here, and these auditoriums are tied in with telepresence technology, video conferencing. We can go around the world, seats 250 people, so we could have events, talking about different modalities and how we can help each other out within, our business models. And so we're really fortunate to have that. And then also the education and informedness is basically just kind of, how we're basing our business, education, informing people, having them make the decision. Really not so much of a sales job. Let it become organic. Let them say, I want to do this, and we give them the access to do it. And this is Dr. Sluzin and Dr. Novo, our dermatologist and plastic surgeon. And that's it.
Great. Thank you, Victor. I will be first in line for every single service.
That's kind of the M-Spa will be the group area of all those modalities within that 250,000 square foot Life Performance Center. So we're going to feed off of 11,000 members on one side and have our own in cross market. There'll actually be other floors, one for surgery suite. We have a deal with Philips where we'll be doing, the idea with coming in and doing blood draws and panels and all of this epigenomic testing is to get it done quickly. Most people don't want to wait 2 to 3 weeks to get everything done. So they'll be able to come in here, get their initial blood draws, go up to the 5th floor and get a CT scan, get a full MRI imaging, get all your results back, have a consult at the end of the day. So
yeah,
that's
so just an edit there. We're not doing the imaging at the center anymore. We're going to do that at the HEA facility down the street. And the reason for that is we wanted it in the same building because we don't have time. We want one location, one destination, get everything done. Come in the morning, get your blood drawn. Your results are ready the same day or the next day. Go golf 18 holes. Come back, and we could program you. We have a 503c AB pharmacy, so we'll be able to fill scripts from a compound level right there. And then we'll drop ship anywhere around the world. So if you live in Indiana and you come into Lake Nona, we can program you for the next 20 weeks and make sure we drop ship all of your, whether it's IV, whether it's, supplements, whether it's hormones, you get that shipped to your house. And then, one of 3 places everybody goes every year, Orlando, Las Vegas, or New York. So,
Yeah.
76 million people come to Orlando every year, the busiest airport. We are abutted to the airport. So we're a 7-minute car ride from baggage claim to the front doors of our office. Like notice 17 square miles. We are a city. We are a city based on wellness and innovation and collaboration. So when you start talking about why isn't any major U.S. city considered a medical or a wellness destination, but Germany, Italy, the Bahamas, all of these people have these great medical. Well, we have it right here in Orlando, and that's what we're trying to build on.
Fabulous. It's definitely the future of one-stop shop, cosmetic, wellness, prevention. So we only have a couple of minutes left. I'd like to go to a few questions. Antonio in Portugal is curious about thermal installations and the experience any of you might have in sanitary control.
Did you say thermal?
Yeah.
Thermal installations.
You're talking about the steam rooms?
Yeah, I guess.
Are we talking about anywhere from steam to Hammam to dry sauna?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be, when's the last time you saw somebody go into a steam room or a dry sauna and just do anything to it? It's
The operator's biggest challenge is to keep those clean.
Yeah.
The last property I had, we took the steam room out and put in an infrared sauna. So everyone's going away from the steam room, and I would go away from the steamer as much as possible. And you're not going to see those areas open up right away. It takes some time for people to trust them.
The irony of, I've been saying this for years, but now we're in a different world. The SPA is an acronym for Solus Paracqua. It's health by water. And ironically, it's the water type modalities that we're going to probably be more cautious of. Communal bathing, communal jacuzzis, wiping down this or that. I mean, it's the way, it's the future. That's what we got to deal with. So
you'll see more at-home steam rooms. We'll have people have that because I love a good steam, but you're going to see more of that at home.
Okay, another one about the transmission of viruses via water therapies, especially hot springs that use ozone to sanitize.
Well, if they are using ozones, that's a good thing. I mean,
Okay.
an ozone sanitizer is probably one of the best things that you can do. I know that Marriott is looking into a disinfecting quick process, which I think is using a portion of ozone to do that. That's the number one thing that I can think of as far as immediate destroying of viruses is the ozone.
Okay. And then if there are no other questions, we have one final question. When is M-Spa opening and when will you start hiring?
Ah,
Third quarter of next year, we should be open. And the last question is a question for Dean. He's the CEO, so he'll be making all those decisions.
I couldn't hear that.
you're the CEO. So the next question.
Dean, how do they send their resume to you?
Oh, you can send all resumes to send everything to Stephanie and she'll forward it.
And now I'm his secretary again.
Stephanie will be sending them to me.
And I'll be forwarding them to Kim and say, Kim, can you please follow up with David on this?
I need a 3-part chain to make it official.
Yeah.
So I thank you all so much for being here today. Any final comments on spa treatments of the future? I'll go to Kim first.
Yeah, I have a question. Everybody's very anxious about their job and are they going to have a job in the future? There's going to be a pause, and that's the time that they're going to have to study and educate themselves, but it's going to be back better than ever. Everybody needs that touch. Right now, your mental health is really affected. The grief process, everybody's grieving something. So we are going to need these treatments. We are going to need that spa and that community to go to. And if you are really close with your clientele, we're going to need you just as much as you need them. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to have to walk through it together and be there together for each other and be kind to each other. But it's going to come back stronger than ever.
Yep, agreed. Community, community, community. Dean?
Yeah, I'm going to be heavily focused on getting Jet Peel back into the aesthetic marketplace. It's made a huge advancement in a short, quick year. It's actually a touchless facial service, which I can get into later. But it's just topical. But I'm really heavy on IV therapy. I've been using it for years. If you're looking at the news, high dose vitamin C is all over the place. It certainly isn't ventilators. Ventilators, 90% of people go on one never come off. So getting more ventilators is not our solution. IV therapy is where I think it's at right now, especially for spas coming out of this shutdown.
And Victor?
Listen, I think it comes down to responsibility. And anybody who, I think eventually when this thing calms down, everybody's going to want to be pampered too and so forth. That's never going to leave us. But what can a spa do to make sure that their consumer is being safe? And what does that mean? That means that the technician that's touching you, do they have their latest blood work or their latest clear? Like to have something like you have at the airport to bypass customs called clear, we need to really start thinking about how all of our healthcare professionals and people who are touching our bodies and that we're in close proximity with, we know a little bit about them. We know that they're healthy and we're not just rolling the dice. So I think responsibility really comes into play here when it comes to the institutions and the businesses that are offering these services in order to get it back fully, because that kind of peace of mind, as little as that may sound, may be the difference between that person coming back to a spa or not. So I think education, accountability, and understanding who is it. We don't let anybody just babysit our children. And wherever we're in contact with, we're bringing home to our kids and our family. So we need responsibility and we need disclosure and understanding who it is that we're in front of. And I think that, to me, is a really important narrative moving forward as we go into this post-COVID-19 world.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you, Kim. I thank you, Dean. I thank you, Victor. I thank our sponsor, VitaLounge. If you'd like to continue to be involved in these webinars or share your own projects, go to the Facebook group, Project Positive Planet, to get involved.
And thank you, Stephanie, for all your hard work. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.